I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power, and coming up next on WAYO LP Rochester is The Sound of Tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. We've got some hot picks. We're going to be talking about Narcan, and we have words about words. But first,
Oh, hi, Heather. Oh, no. Heather. Oh, Heather. Oh, sweetie. Have you been crying?
hi, Roz. Yeah, it's been a rough day.
Oh, no, sweetie. Do you want to talk about it?
I do. I'm just so upset. Thank you.
Okay, I am here for you. So what's going on?
Well, we got that email from Wayo Management about the stuff we left at the station, so I went over to pick up the boxes.
Oh, okay, so you're sad because you have to store all our junk now. I mean, you could just take it up to the space bridge, you know.
No, that's not it. I've got enough room, and I'm actually glad to have our recording robes back. I'll drop yours off one of these days.
Oh, our recording robes that they bought for us when we kept forgetting both pants and towels.
When you kept forgetting both pants and a towel.
Touche. Not ashamed.
But I was going through the boxes and remember how I had that copy of Hokey Jokes for Younger Folks, that old joke book that Vinnie Paulino gave me when he was on the show in 2015?
No, I literally have no idea what I did last week, much less anything from 2015. So I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fair, but this one, see, you remember? See how Vinny must have chewed on the cover over here.
Ew. What?
When he was a little kid, Ross, not when he was
Oh.
on our show.
Okay, well that's better, I guess.
Regardless, the point is, I started reading a little more of this Hokey Jokes for Younger Folks book, and you know what? You know I disagree with banning books from schools mostly, but this book, this awful book, I've already filed a petition that it be pulled from all school libraries post haste.
Post haste, Heather. My gosh, I am surprised. I mean, a book banner? Oh, is it because there's like racist jokes?
Surprisingly, no. And it was
Oh,
written in like 1964. I mean, that's actually really surprising.
yeah. It's very progressive not to have actively racist jokes in a book from 1964. That's weird. So,
Yeah.
okay, so is there like anti-woman stuff or like anti-LGBTQIA plus bigotry?
Again, surprisingly, no.
Okay, then I do not understand. So if it's not full of hate speech, then why would you want to ban it?
Because it made me sad.
Okay, Joe, you're saying that jokes made you sad.
Yes, and if I, a grown woman, am sad, imagine how poor little kids would feel reading these jokes.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Oh, honey. Baby. Oh, girl. Oh, see. Okay, so I'm here. This is me. I'm trying to be supportive, but I do not understand.
Well, I don't want to make you sad too, but I can give you some examples of what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna regret asking, but it would actually help. So sure. Yeah.
Okay, so in just the blank walks into a bar section alone, which
Yeah.
in and of itself truly makes light of addiction, how big alcohol pushes drinking on the American public, etc., etc. There's some real heart-rending stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I see your point. It's important to understand and respect matters of addiction, but I don't know. The guy walks into a bar jokes that I've heard are mostly wordplay and not really about drinking or alcohol at all.
Oh, are they?
Oh.
Are they?
Yeah, yes.
Really? Okay, then. Okay. Okay. I have to try to not start crying again.
Lord.
Okay. How about this one? Grasshopper walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, we have a drink named after you." The grasshopper says, "You have a drink named Steve?"
Oh my god. Okay, that's actually a good one because the drink is a grasshopper, and no one names a drink Steve. That's funny.
The grasshopper, eyes lighting up as he suddenly feels seen, says
Oh,
hopefully, a tremble in his grasshopper voice, "You have a drink named Steve?" thinking maybe it has all been worth it after all his quiet work in the community, all his tireless efforts that went unappreciated,
What is
seemingly
happening?
unnoticed. As it
Okay.
dawns on him that the barkeep is just making a cruel joke, she says that to all the grasshoppers. He feels his grasshopper brain cloud with sorrow and doubt. Silently, head lowered, the grasshopper turns and leaves the bar, feeling worse than he had when he walked in.
Wow, okay. I never really thought about it that way.
A ghost walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve spirits."
That is another classic. It's corny, but it's a classic. Spirits and spirits. That is primo dad joke content. I love it.
Sure, primo. This poor ghost has been trapped on this earthly plane for who even knows how long. Finally, at last, the ghost encounters someone who can see her, really see her. She hopes the kindly bartender might be able to help her move on, or even just talk for a moment. She's been so lonely. And yet, she's faced with cruel rejection.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess yeah, that is pretty sad.
There's
Yeah.
more. Horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Why the long face?"
It's funny because horses have long faces. I
No,
love that one.
Ross,
Oh Lord.
since colthood. This horse has been bullied mercilessly by all the other horses for having an unusually long face. This horse had been considering plastic surgery, not for themselves, because there was a look that they saw for themselves, but to make the teasing stop. Anything to make the teasing stop. The horse went to the human bar instead of the horse bar in hopes of a quiet night, hoping humans wouldn't notice or would at least be kind enough to not comment on their looks.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I see that. I understand. And I like how you gave the horse they them pronouns.
The horse is a friend of mine, Ross. And those are
Huh.
their pronouns. I didn't give them anything except friendship and a shoulder to cry on when I saw them walk out dejectedly from the bar.
Okay, well then please tell your friend I'm very sorry this happened.
Thank you. I will. A lion walks into a bar and asks the bartender, "Do you have any jobs?"
Oh,
The
there's more.
bartender said,
Don't cry. It's gonna be okay.
"Makes
You can
me
get through it.
so sad." A lion walks into a bar and asks the bartender, "Do you have any jobs?" The bartender shakes his head sadly and says, "No, sorry. Why don't you try the circus?" The lion replies, "Why would the circus need a bartender?"
Okay, let me stop you. I'm gonna try this one. Okay, so the lion is actually a very good bartender with years of experience. He worked at the MGM Casino Bar in Las Vegas and was very well loved and well regarded. Did all that fancy Tom Cruise cocktail stuff and everything in, and it was more impressive when he did it with his big, capable paws. But then his wife got sick, probably cancer. The US healthcare system is so messed up, and it's even harder for lions to get insurance, so they burn through their savings fighting her illness. To be closer to the hospitals they needed for her treatment, they relocated to the city this bar is in. The lion is desperate for work, and he's already tried every single bar in town, hearing only the sad reply, "No, sorry. Why don't you try the circus?" This lion might have no choice but to go work for the circus. Long days and long nights doing tricks for pennies as his joints creak and groan, but the lion will do anything for his beloved wife. If he must, he must.
Now you're understanding. A bartender says, "We don't serve time travelers in here." A time traveler walks into a bar,
God, he's caught in an endless loop.
trying so hard to establish a connection with humanity
Only to be rejected.
over and over and over again.
When will it end?
When we ban hokey jokes for younger folks from schools across the United States.
Ban it! I'm writing a letter to my town school board right now.
We can't have the children sad.
This show should be banned. That's what I'm petitioning for.
Hey, I liked that I resurrected hokey jokes for younger folks.
I know. Your time has come. Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome to the Sound of Tomorrow here on WAYO, LP Rochester.
The Sound of Tomorrow, it's a show on the radio that's full of noise and also music with people.
That's right. And if you're listening to this live, let us tell you something that's happening very, very soon. 1 week from tomorrow, if you're listening to this live.
Or even slightly unlive.
Well, if you're dead and listening to it, that's probably good too.
Right.
Because you're ghost.
Yeah. It's
We
probably better. It's probably better if you're dead, actually. I mean,
we have a super exciting event coming up at
yeah.
Photo City Music Hall on Thursday, December 15th. Doors open at 7. Show starts at 8. We are celebrating what will be, at some point when we get to it, our 500th episode of The Sound of Tomorrow. And we are celebrating by throwing a comedy show, dance party, rock show, benefit, with proceeds being split evenly between WAYO and Rock Food Relief. We're going to be there. We're going to be maybe doing a little tiny bit of silly stuff. We're going to be schmoozing around. We're going to be dancing. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, we
Suggested
got
donation $15.
and that's all going to go to going to get split between Rock Food Relief and WAYO. So
Which we
everything you
absolutely love. And 'tis the season to make a
tis the
donation to
season.
these awesome things in our community. We got some community supported radio, obviously, and
Yes.
community supported mutual aid food relief from Rock Food Relief.
Absolutely. So that's a great way to that's a great way to make a donation and do a nice thing, and
And come and have a party.
don't ask it how it affects your taxes, because we don't know. There is going to be a good time, and it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. We've got so many awesome people. We've got Mantra on the bill. They're going to be playing toward the end of the night some really, really great music for us. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So we would love to see you there. Tell them Ross and Heather sent you when you see Ross and Heather,
Yes,
because we'll have forgotten.
we will.
So,
And by then,
yeah.
we'll probably have forgotten our names.
Right.
It's a stressful time
So-
of year.
It is. It's a lot going on.
I know. It's
It's
so
a
much
lot going on.
So much. And then we decided to
gonna be
have
a
a
fun
show.
party.
And, it's going to be such a fun party.
I'm excited.
Super psyched about it. I'm already trying to
feel
plan
free to-
wardrobe.
And feel free to bring bring people you find on the way.
Bring your family, bring some strangers, bring that group of kids that hangs out down the street on the corner.
Yeah. Is this an all ages show?
This
I
is
should know the answer to
not.
this. It is not. So don't bring those kids.
By kids,
Whatever you do.
I meant 22-year-olds. I'm old.
Yeah. If they're 22, you can bring them.
And those are kids. Yeah, don't bring
Right.
children. This is, I'll tell
Don't
you
br-
honestly, I don't know if this is 18 and over or if it's 21 plus.
Oh, because I guess it's the venue rules, right?
It's the venue rules, and I honestly don't know.
So, so we'll try to get that information
Yeah.
for you.
I guess we should know that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should.
Huh.
But vamp for a minute. Let me look that up. real
Yeah,
quick.
all right. Yeah, because I guess there is a difference. I mean, it's an adults only event, like small children aren't allowed. Though I was raised
18 plus.
18 plus.
18 plus.
So all right, if you are 18 plus,
Yeah,
come see us.
would love to see you. Absolutely.
Ross,
So, yes, ma'am.
I'm confused,
Okay.
and I need your
Let's-
help with something. So,
Oh, I thought that was the end. Okay. There's more.
I mean, but all right. So there's that AI art thing going around where apparently you feed an AI some pictures of yourself and it makes paintings.
Yes.
So that looks fun. I haven't done it yet merely because I've been busy, honestly, which is weird. I've been too busy.
You just told me you're on vacation, but okay, let's just run with that. And I'm not going to accept any further explanation on that. We're just going to move
I've
along.
been
But go
so
ahead.
busy, so busy, too busy to mess with that AI yet. But
Right.
now I am seeing on
Too busy
social.
to open an app on my phone. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I understand.
Now I'm seeing on social media people railing against this app saying, it's going to own your likeness, which, okay. And it's like, you sign away the rights to your images that you feed when you click the accept box. I'm like, okay, I don't doubt that. Who cares is what I want to know. Like, why is this a problem?
Yeah, I don't care about that. This is another thing that people got really high horsey about. And I sort of have gotten there a little bit myself because I did it.
Yes, and your
I did,
pictures
like-
came out nice.
They're cute. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the ones I put up were nice. I mean, some of them were. It seems to be bad with hands.
Yes,
So,
that's what
there are
I've
a lot
heard.
of wild hands.
That's what
And
I've
I'm sort
heard.
of- and I'm fairly cockeyed in several of them, which maybe I don't think I'm I don't think I'm particularly cockeyed in real life, but maybe I am. But so the issue from what I understand, and I have not done a lot of research on this, the issue that concerns me is that and again, I don't even know that this is a fact, but this seems to be more factual than some of the other. This seems to be a little more authoritatively stated, I guess, anyway, than some of the other stuff that people have said about it, which is that a lot of these AI art generating things, they're sort of trained using art that they sort of find, like
Okay.
publicly, like people's art that they didn't pay for. So basically, when you submit an image to have it make an image, it's making an image that's sort of similar to, that may or may not be similar, or at least learned to make an image from somebody's art that they never got paid for. So that makes me sort of feel like maybe I wish I hadn't given them money, because you sort of give them money to,
Oh, so
and
you
then they're
pay for
making money.
this.
Yeah, I think you have to pay. There are a few of them, but I think you pay for pretty much all of them. So you're
Oh.
giving money to somebody, and not that, I mean, I'm sure making the AI program to do it is also, a talent that probably deserves to be paid for. But I don't feel great about, again, if this is 100% true, which I think it is, the idea that the AI is sort of trained on, it's trained to sort of semi kind of partially replicate images that are different enough that nobody ever has to get paid, but it's still using those as a basis. And then those people never got paid. So if I had art for sale that I made for sale, and someone just took a copy of it and was like, I mean, it's essentially like if I made a piece of art and somebody took that art and made it just different enough that it wasn't
Yes,
quite a legal issue and then sold it, I'd be sort of mad.
but companies do that all the time, like
But
actual
it's against the law.
stores
I
and
mean, you
stuff.
can get sued for that. I mean, it is generally against the law to take people's art without paying them.
But
It
that's,
happens,
I mean, I think
but
that's what, and I don't want to impugn any big stores, but I've heard about it happening with some pretty big, famous, popular stores that, and again, I haven't vetted this. I'll see posts, like this artist here did this, and this is their Etsy page, and here's screenshots from their Etsy page. And then a year later, this big store where you can shop at the mall came out with this image, and they're selling this thing. But it's just different enough so that the artist who came up with the concept doesn't get paid.
well, or it's just different enough that the artist doesn't have any money to hire a lawyer that can, I mean,
Well, that and
it's not a matter of just being different enough. It's also a matter of like who has the power to actually sue somebody.
yeah,
So, I think my point would be like that's a bad thing and I
it
don't
is
really
a
want to
bad
support that.
thing. But what I'm wondering is, because with the AI, I guess it's the app that's making money, and in theory, because the AI was trained using artwork that wasn't paid for.
Right. Which is probably not against the law. I mean, it's probably not against any law, so there's probably no legal thing, but I mean, it's also, again, it's
Hmm.
exploiting artists' work. I mean, I've had articles that I've written where people have just taken them whole cloth and stolen them and put them on other websites. I don't really have any recourse. I'm not going to hire a lawyer,
Yeah.
you know, but they make money off it and it's not really cool
Yeah.
because I'm not the one making money off it, or the people who hired me and paid me to do it aren't making money off it either.
What if they take your article and feed it to an AI and you don't know?
That is probably not against the law, and it's probably 100% fine legally, and it's also crappy because they didn't make it. It's my work.
But they feed AIs like Shakespeare and stuff. And I was thinking with these art things, they probably fed the AI like Van Gogh.
Possibly, but a lot of the stuff is, I mean, a lot of the backgrounds and stuff are recognizably modern.
Okay.
So maybe they are. I mean, I don't, again, so this is where I don't know the 100% details. I don't know for a fact that this isn't all public domain art, but the style is not classically
Interesting.
styled 100-year-old or more paintings. That's not the style at all. So I'd be surprised if that's the case.
Okay, because that's where I would start with my art AI. I would feed it like an art history textbook.
Yeah.
with all the pictures in it.
But then you get classical paintings instead of then you get people in classical painting style as opposed to like modern sci-fi or, you know, anime or whatever.
Okay. So the people who are like all up in arms about what's going to happen with their images.
Well, and I don't know. I don't think there's any way to know. I don't know if there's any way for an individual to know like what if their image was used. So this is very abstract.
No, see, okay, the people I've seen who are up in arms are they're upset about their selfies that they
Oh,
would willingly give to the AI saying, "Please make a portrait out of me."
but you also willingly gave them to Facebook and Instagram and
See,
Twitter.
that was
So,
my original point. That was
yeah.
my exact original point because I hadn't seen anything about this stolen artwork being used as feed for the AI for it to learn. I saw stuff about like, yeah, but once you give them your photo, they own your photo and you've signed away your rights. And I'm like, yeah, and you're also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and
Yeah.
you're on
I
camera at
mean,
the grocery store and like,
and I think that's for any individual to decide. I mean, that's not really like a cultural problem with it to me. That's not like a moral problem. That's just like a if you give your picture to anybody, I don't read the fine print. So I you know, I've never read the fine print on anything, so I don't know other than like a paper contract for a house or something, but
yeah, even those
I don't
after a while with the house stuff, it's just so much you stop reading.
yeah, I don't read the terms and conditions on any of that. So I mean, but that's if you're putting your selfies online in pretty much any context,
Yeah.
you're not really that it's not really that different. I mean,
Okay. All right. Cause that's the,
this sounds like the people who put the like, "Hey Facebook, I just want you to know that I do not release my pictures and blah blah blah." It's like you signed up for this. You signed the terms and agreement. You don't you can't like
yeah,
you can't be like, "Oh, I signed the agreement that says I agree to all these things," but then actually
just by putting a post on your page. That's
right.
well, and that's a bit of a surprising thing because one of the people, at least that I saw posting this, isn't usually like that.
Mhm.
They usually post pretty sensible things. They don't write direct messages in the comments. Um,
I mean, there is, you know, there is something to be said for like Twitter, not so much anymore, but like Facebook and Instagram and even Snapchat and, you know, the major ones, like they do have a fairly robust security architecture. Twitter used to. And they have sort of legal oversight and, you know, people have their eye on them. A new app pops up. I mean, like you know, like I had a fake Instagram. I had an Instagram
yes,
spammer.
you
This was
did.
before this was before this was before that app thing popped up that I did that, but it was after Twitter fired all of their Elon Musk fired Twitter's entire security infrastructure. So, not that someone couldn't have just gone to my site and taken a screenshot of that picture, but you know, I guess there is something to be said for giving like a raw copy of a picture to an app that nobody knows where it came from or who owns it or where it resides or where it's from. You know, there is something to be said for giving your information over to something like that and your credit card number or whatever. So there are, you know, there are more risks with an app that has no you don't know anything about and nobody knows anything about than there is with like Facebook, which again, I'm not, you know, there are plenty of security risks with
Oh
Facebook and
yeah.
whatever, but at least I mean, Facebook also has thousands of people in charge of keeping your stuff secure and still has data issues, you know. So an app
Yeah.
that has zero people keeping your stuff secure probably is also going to have data issues. So,
All right. Yeah. No, the person wasn't even worried about that. It was really the concern that this app would now have a picture of them and then the app would have a picture of them.
yeah.
And my thought
Um
was like, anybody could get a picture of me from anywhere.
Yeah, and legally that's not how that works. You can't sign over like your face in that easily. So
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm really glad I brought this up because there is a lot more to talk about than I thought. But also, I did think like I willingly post pictures of myself online.
Yeah.
I've, I, if that's how you give your image away, I gave mine away long ago.
Yeah. On the whole, I think it's, you know, I've seen a few different high horsey things about it, and I did it, and I even got on a little high horse with myself, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that because I was thinking of like, oh, I'm not a big fan of the AI stuff in general
I
because
so am. I guess maybe that's it too, because you know me and my AIs.
I mean, again, the problem is at the bottom line of what they are. The very bottom line is they're designed to launder other people's art into something that they can take legally. It's, I mean, they're all 100% what they are and what they're designed to do. And what they do is take other people's material and launder it into something that's just different enough that they're not going to get sued. And I don't love that. So, and it discourages people from making art because if you're like, oh, I made a piece of art and all it's going to do is be grist for an AI that's going to turn it into something just different enough that I can't sue, even if I had the means to. That's not great.
Are you
I don't
talking
love that.
visual art? Because I had
I'm talking everything. I mean,
my big
anything with an AI.
flirtation with the one where I fed it part of the script and then it wrote the rest of the script.
Yeah, but even those, they learn how to make a script
Yes.
by having, and it might be stuff that people, and in some cases, it might be stuff that people gave them voluntarily,
And that was
but
yeah, I guess maybe.
but it
I
didn't
don't know
just
why
take
anybody would
yours.
do it.
It didn't just take your script. I mean, it's that AI has probably been fed a lot of other scripts, so it knows how to
Yes.
make a script.
I'm sure of it. I gave it maybe 8 lines,
Hmm.
which would have been like it was enough for it to learn kind of the way I write and the way I set things up.
Hmm.
Because it really did keep my voice in there. I guess, I mean, with that too, since I willingly fed it my own work,
Hmm.
well, that's
But
fine.
like, but like, I guess what's the value of something that made something that like you wrote a script and then you fed it a script and then it gave you a slightly different script that sounds sort of like you? Like, I guess what's the value of that?
I loved it because it made me laugh.
Right?
That was the value of it for me.
Because it didn't make any sense. I mean, it was funny because it didn't make any sense. It's not like, I don't know, like that was I don't know, there's a novelty value, but
Yes.
um, I don't know. Is there a
Yeah, I'm fascinated with the
do you feel
AI.
like it's contributing to do you feel like it's contributing to anything in our culture?
I feel like, I mean, I do feel like there are potential dangers with it in the future, but then I'm also not sure like I know I brought that one Slate article and we talked about this too a while ago with the is it writing if an AI wrote it? Is it art if an AI made it?
Mhm.
And I think we were just talking about a pretty legit art AI that was fed public domain museum pieces, not stolen off of independent creators off of Etsy artwork.
Mhm.
And we had that discussion of is it art if an AI made it?
Yeah, and I don't know if I feel strongly that it could or could not be, but again, it's just sort of the same thing of like I feel like we don't pay our artists, we don't pay our writers anything. I mean, we don't pay them at all. We don't pay musicians. I mean, people think of like, oh, rich writers, and they're thinking of like Stephen King and no one
Yeah, and of
else.
course, like thinking of
Um,
Lizzo or something like, well,
right,
Lizzo's rich. Like, well, yeah, Lizzo is Lizzo. Okay.
right. Um, I know tons of writers who, I mean, like personally, I mean, I don't know personally know tons of writers in this scenario, but I personally know more than one writer in this scenario where like you could go into any bookstore in the country and find their books, and they struggle to pay the bills every month, and that's very common. So like the idea that so to go further down that line of like, oh, we're just gonna have AI do everything, like is it making better art than people made? Because that's what we're doing. We're sort of replacing people just economically. We're saying like, oh, we found a cheaper way to make art. And then it's probably not going to be better art, but we're going to go for it because we like cheaper things. So
For
I
me,
don't
I
know.
think it's a different category.
Right, but that's going to be all there's going to be because it's already it's already cutting it. I mean, like with this Lindsay, I know a ton of people whose job it is. They will like just really quick, simple, like, hey, you want me to draw your portrait? And they do it online, and it's kind of a job. Like it's kind of a semi job, right? Like they will make the sort of portraits that this AI is making, and you say like,
Oh,
oh, okay, this is cheaper, and they're fun and they look good, and that's great. So I guess what's the harm? But then also like there are human beings that would have drawn a custom picture of you for not much more money, but enough more that you're going to go for the AI version. And suddenly and I've seen that concern from people like, hey, I'm still an artist and I will still, it's a very common thing, like, especially with so many people post selfies online. And there are a ton of people who are like, hey, if you like that selfie, I'm an artist for not much money. I can make you, I can make you a painting or a drawing of that. And that's very common. And some people are very good at it. But who's going to do that when you can give an app $5, And I guess if the stuff is good, then maybe that's just competition and maybe that's just how it works. I don't know, but it does bother me. It does bother me because I feel like cutting humans out of the equation and only ever using recycled art forever basically is kind of where we're I mean, I don't mean to
I
be like
don't
doomsday
think we're
about it.
going that way. I don't see it.
I think we are. I mean, I really do. I mean, look at the books, look at the books that are out, look at the movies that come out. It is the only thing that people go to see, and I'm not saying it's AI, but it is the 30th sequel to something. It is
Yes.
so we don't care, we don't like new stuff as it is, and now we're saying, "Oh, by the way, here's a way that we can just take a bunch of old stuff and mix it together and you never have to see anything new."
You're right. You've got a good point with the movies and the TV.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I don't
that's
know. I'm
true.
I'm I'm going much farther in this argument than I really do in my head. I'm sort of like pushing this further than I
No, that's all
really
right.
actually think, but
Well, that makes for
because
more
I
more interesting radio than I don't know. I don't have that much of an opinion on
right,
it.
right, and I don't feel. I mean, part of me's like, I always sort of walk back from the brink with anything like this too. Is like people think this about everything. Like people have thought about every technology or everything forever, like that it was going to be the end of creativity and the end of things, but.
Absolutely. TV and radio were going to ruin people.
Mhm. But
Ruin.
but I don't I don't think the I think there's fun stuff that the AI can do, that AI stuff can do. I do not think it adds any value. I think things that humans create add value. I think that things that get recycled and mix match don't really add value. And there's like stuff that doesn't add value can be fine, like can be fun. Like there's stuff like Snickers bars don't add value, but like they're still fun.
They
They're
do.
still
They
like
give you a smile.
they give you a smile. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't really. Who cares?
Well, after this,
I'm gonna circle back to who cares.
after this, I'm going to go and feed my picture to a whole bunch of AIs.
You should.
And I'm
You
going to feed
should.
it some scripts too while I'm at it.
And I mean the flip side too is I did it to this. I used the Lenzy app and to do this, and that's the one I used. And like the pictures are really cool.
Yeah, they were.
Um, but then I also thought like I know these people who will draw you for like $20 and would do the same thing for $20. And yeah, it's
Send
20
me
bucks.
their info for the $20 people. Do they do pet portraits?
They might.
I
It
would.
might be more than $20. I think it depends on what you want. Like you might get a black and white sketch for 20, but you still get you get something that somebody made as opposed to something that a computer spit out, where your hands you might have 8 fingers. So anyway,
And that's
I don't
another thing where at least the AIs can't give you a painting yet.
know. Yeah, I mean they can give you something that looks like a painting.
Yeah, but it's not a painting that you could touch and hang on your wall with like
Well, that's true.
paint on it, and you could put a
Well,
frame
that's
around
true.
it because it's painted.
But with 3D printing, I feel like that's
Oh, maybe
not.
so.
I don't feel. I mean, I don't think anybody's doing that yet, but I feel like I hope I didn't just give anybody that
I
idea.
bet
But
you did. Wow, I feel like that feels bad on your hands.
probably. But I mean, how much time do you
How
spend
much time,
touching a
yeah, are
painting
you
anyway?
painting?
Like,
I've got these velvet paintings up here. I stroke them quite frequently.
I'm sure you do. That's uncomfortable. Um. So anyway,
That's why they
I
can
want
never replace humans completely with AIs.
I'm gonna. Well, I guess I'm gonna talk. You know what? I'm gonna
Yeah,
segue here into a
let's
couple of
segue.
recycled things that I think are sort of good. So I've got a
Perfect.
couple hot picks, and one's sort of a future hot pick, and one's sort of a
Ooh.
slightly retroactive hot pick. So there is. So I'll start with the future one. So I haven't seen this yet. I don't know. I
Oh.
don't know much about it, but my favorite author in the world is.
Dur, 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 dur.
She has no idea. Oct- I thought you knew me. Octavia Butler, who is no
Yes.
longer with us. But so her book, so it is her most famous book and her most sort of critically acclaimed book is not 100% my favorite book of hers, but I love all of her books. So I mean, to say that it's not my favorite book of hers is it's still right out there. So it's Kindred, which is the story of a I mean, I don't know what the point of view of the show is because again, I don't know much about it. But there's going to be a new show on Hulu. I just cut to the end here, but so in the book, it's like a '70s black housewife who winds up in sort of a nebulous time travel scenario. A lot of Octavia Butler's stuff. I mean, she could do sort of really sort of hard, complicated, not hard, but I mean hard science fiction is in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like very dense, very dense sort of science fiction. And she could also do, I mean, with something like Kindred, she could do both styles very well. With something like Kindred, it's almost a little more fantasy. So
Mm-hmm.
this sort of black '70s housewife winds up getting sort of pulled back in time to like plantation era South, and it's an amazing book. It's a harrowing book, as you can
Uh-huh.
imagine.
Yes.
Um,
I realized that
and there's
the listeners could not see the look on my face when I heard the premise of this. It was one of, oh no.
yeah, it's an oh no scenario, and I mean that's part of the power of it. I mean, it's extra. It's something more people should read. I know it's something that's kind of read in schools, although probably not anymore. I'm sure it's been banned
Yeah,
across the country
not
at this
yeah.
point.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so there's a show, and again, I don't know a thing about this show. The showrunner is named Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, and I don't know who that is. So
That is
um,
presumably a human being.
that is presumably a human being, not an AI. I'll give you the synopsis for the show, which is sort of what I just said for the book. In the sci-fi drama series, Dana James is a young black woman and writer who relocates to Los Angeles with her husband Kevin Franklin. While trying to settle down into her promising new life, Dana suffers dizzy spells during which she finds herself pulled back into America's pre-Civil War past when slavery was still in practice. So
Wow.
it's a it's a powerful book. I mean, it is a
Mm-hmm.
powerful, powerful, powerful book. And I don't know how the show is going to be, but I'm intrigued and excited. So for all I was saying about let's make new stuff, I'm, I'm intrigued by this idea of a show. It's the kind of thing where I'm not always, I don't know if it needs to be a show, but I feel like it could be if done right, it could be a very powerful and important show. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see. I'm not always someone who's like, sometimes you love a book and everybody's like, "Oh, I can't wait for the movie." And I'm sort of like, "Well, I love the book and that's fine."
Yeah. Yep. Most
and maybe
definitely.
and maybe someday if they make a good movie, sure, I'll check it out. And maybe I'll love the movie, maybe I won't, but I'm just fine with the book. so so that's Kindred. That's coming out on Hulu on December time frame, mid-December. I lost the date, December 13th. So that'll be
Soon.
interesting. I'm going to check that out. Yeah. So the other one that I was really surprised by, I was interested in this. So this was an FX show. I was interested in this, but I was sort of like, I wanted to check it out, but I was sort of halfway interested. So uh, Anne Rice, as
Yes.
we all know, recently passed. Anne Rice, Interview with a Vampire,
Oh yeah.
which
Yes.
which I haven't read. I read a little bit of Anne Rice recently just to sort of catch up because Anne
Wow.
Rice was somebody I read a lot in high school.
Same here. Haven't read her in so long, but definitely read so much Anne Rice back in the day.
Absolutely. So I know I've read. I mean, I've read Interview with the Vampire maybe twice at
Same.
least.
And I saw the movie that came out in the 90s.
Yeah. Saw the movie. I feel like I've seen other. I feel like there was like a comic book there was like a
Oh,
graphic
I'm
novel
sure there was.
adaptation. So I was interested in this show because it looked interesting.
Yes.
I also felt like I have seen a lot of Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
Like there's a lot like I've seen enough. I've seen, but also like okay, I'm in for a penny in for a pound. I might as well get into this series. And I got to say I was very impressed. So we watched the entire first season. I believe there will be a
Lucky.
there will be a second season. And I I was sort of blown away actually. Um
Yeah. So my experience with this, just to throw my 2 cents in, I was able
yeah.
to watch however many you can watch free on FX before they
Okay.
try to make you sign up and buy yet another station.
Mhm.
I didn't go in for buying the station just because I got very tired,
Okay.
but I really liked what I saw. And if I didn't have to pay a decent amount of money, I really would have liked to continue watching.
Yeah. I felt like I mean, I immediately felt like it wasn't just readapting the same story. It was true to the spirit of the novel. Again, I haven't read the
Yes.
novel in a long time, but I felt like it was true to the spirit of the novel. But I also felt like it rebuilt it from the ground up, and partially, in part by, I think in the novel the Louis character is Creole, but it doesn't really impact the story, as I recall.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, and in the show, he's either black or exclusively black, whatever that means. He's either black or Creole, and I'm not sure, but it's a black actor,
Right.
and it's not incidental that he's black, which sort of makes all the difference. I mean, it's again, so
Yes. Yeah,
it
and it
it
was, at least in the first episode, it was done really well, showing like painting the portrait of what his life was like.
right, right, and keeping some of the same beats and some of the same themes,
Mhm.
but without just without completely reinventing the wheel, but also without just retelling the same story, and made a different story out of what I feel like you could have cast a black actor and gone like, oh, this is fine, and maybe made a few tweaks and whatever, as opposed to saying, okay, what would it be like for this person in the South, in New Orleans
Mhm.
at this time period as a black person, even as a black vampire later
Yeah.
on, and built the story around that in a way that made it relevant and made it feel like there was a point to me
Mhm.
of doing this new adaptation. Like it felt like there was a reason for it, as
Ah,
opposed to just kind of doing Interview with the Vampire again.
yeah. Now, shucks. Now I really want to see the whole rest of this season.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, the actors, Jacob Anderson plays Louis and Sam Reed plays Lestat. They're all, and Assad Zaman, I'm seeing, who plays Claudia. I don't know the young actress, but is fabulous.
Yeah, and
It's
the
oh
settings
no, I'm
and the
sorry.
costumes,
I'm
like,
sorry. Bailey Bass plays Claudia.
okay.
Sorry, was reading ahead, but
It was also
no,
really great to look at. Just
it's
like New
beautiful. And
Orleans, the buildings, the clothes, the costume design, like it was a really good thing to just see.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, smart choices like just making it I feel like in the 70s, adding sort of the homosexual subtext was daring. And in 2022, that's really not. So
Yeah.
just making their relationship explicit
Yeah.
is
Oh,
also like, that was a
definitely.
smart change. That's a
Very
smart change rather
smart.
than just like, oh, we're going to beat around the bush with again in the 70s. I think that was
Oh, that
daring
was
and sort
very
of naughty
bold.
and sexy and whatever. And same
And
thing
that
with
could
the
probably get
movie.
your book banned. Well, I guess it could probably get your book banned once again.
Could probably get your
Um,
book banned now. uh, but yeah, and so yes, so that is a hot pick, and it's been it's been out, but I loved it. It ended about a month ago, the first season, and they're doing the other Anne Rice series that I read all of, and these. I mean, I came to the vampire books late, obviously, because I think the first one or maybe two were out before I was born,
well,
but
yeah, but they had a big resurgence when we were teenagers.
they did. But like she had the Mayfair Witches series. I don't know if you'd read any of
I
those.
oh, I certainly did.
Yeah. So there's I don't know when it starts, but there's going to be a series, I think soonish, I think early 2023, something like that. There's a sort of relate. I don't know if they're tied together, I don't know if they're tied together plot wise in any way. I think they're maybe not, but they're doing a Mayfair Witches series that's sort of a separate thing under the same kind of like Anne Rice shows banner, whatever they're calling it.
Interesting.
The Anne Riceaverse. I don't know.
I mean, why
I
not? Like, especially if they're punching them up a little bit, because I do remember there came a point with Anne Rice that I was like, yep, had enough.
yeah.
I'm done.
Well, and I don't know, I sort of lost track with like the vampire books. I read four, the first four or five, and it does start to get a little, and I don't, again, maybe there's, I don't know. I sort of was like, okay, I need a break from this. Maybe all the books are great. Maybe someday if I pick up more, I will find that I, you know, enjoy continuing very much. But there's a lot of Anne Rice.
There's a lot of
And
Anne Rice. You know what I want?
what do you want?
I want VC Andrews rebooted in
The
this modern storytelling way.
VC Andrews verse.
That's what I want to see.
Well, they just did I mean, there's not a whole VC Andrews verse, but they just did that Flowers of the Attic adaptation.
Did they?
Yeah.
Was it a
That
movie?
was, well, okay, so 2014. So I guess it was not that recently.
Oh.
Never mind. But I don't know. That seems. Oh
Was
no,
it?
there was a miniseries just this year on Lifetime.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
So there was a 2014 movie which was sort of a remake of. I don't know if you'd consider it a remake of the old movie or a new adaptation of the book, but then the Lifetime did a limited series this year, which is what I was thinking of with Kelsey Grammer and Kate Mulgrew for some reason,
Oh, wow.
um, based on Garden of Shadows, which is
Oh,
apparently a prequel to
yes.
Flowers in the Attic.
Interesting.
So the incest verse, I think, is
Yeah,
what
that's
you're
what we're going
probably
for.
right.
Are
Yeah,
you watching that Wednesday program?
I have not watched it yet. I was I was kind of interested in it, and
Yeah.
then I heard sort of mixed reviews, but then more recently I've heard better reviews from people that I
Yes.
actually know and trust, so
Yeah.
I'm more interested now.
So I am 3 episodes in,
Okay.
and I don't want to give too many, I don't want to give any spoilers really, but I will tell you, I was watching episode 1. It started wearing thin on me. And
Okay.
I was thinking something's going to need to change soon, or this is probably not the program for me. By the end of episode 1, something had changed, and I was like, all right, good, good, because that's what I needed to happen.
Okay. I interesting. Yeah, I'm interested in checking that out. We were finishing up. This is just going to be TV talk. I'm going to skip. So I'm just going to give a spoiler here. So we're going to get to the piece about Narcan that we talked about before we leave because I think that's important. I had a whole thing about some of the anti-LGBTQ hate that's been going on
Yeah, it's
lately,
terrifying and
and
sickening.
it's terrifying. But I think we're just going to skip it, and maybe we'll talk about it next week. I think I don't have the heart for it right now. But
I
there's
understand.
if you're not following every single thing in the news, there's a lot going on, and it's all going on at once, and it's all scary, and it's all sort of backed up by politicians and by major media. There's not this sort of pushback against extremism that maybe there used to be in the past. So anyway, it's bad. But
Yeah.
we we were watching on Netflix, which I guess I'll throw in as another little hot pick is the Midnight Club.
Oh, what's that?
It's a so Mike Flanagan's a guy who has done several sort of horror themed miniseries, but they're sort of character driven horror. They're not it's the elevated horror is sort of a trope that's sort of weird, but it's it's they're more character, it's much more character based. They're not like gore driven or anything like that.
All
So
right.
he did Midnight Mass, which is not related to Midnight Club. He did The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, which was an adaptation of Turn to the Screw. Somebody who I haven't even seen all of his stuff, but I've liked everything I've seen. So
Ooh.
Midnight Club it's based on Christopher Pike. Um, one of his so he writes sort of young adult horror novels. So one of his in particular called The Midnight Club, and then it takes elements, I guess, from several of his other novels. I haven't read it, but um it's a bunch of teenagers in a almost like a hospice care situation. So they're teenagers that are dying
Oh.
of various ailments, but it's not and they gather every night at midnight to tell scary stories. And they also have sort of a pact that, if anything when any of them die, because there's
Mm-hmm.
sort of that's what happens in this place, they will everyone will try to make some effort to um make contact from the other side if it's possible. So that's sort of the setup. And it's 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 a really I've loved it. Like I said, it could be very maudlin, and it's not. It's sort of fun and maybe even a little inspiring, and a little bit
Wow.
life affirming in a sense, but it's also fun. I mean, there's sort of a most, if not every episode has sort of a dramatization of the story that they're telling. So there's that element. There's general spookiness to it, and you really care about the characters. And it has been canceled after the first season, I guess, because Mike Flanagan is moving somewhere else, and Netflix, it sounded like, didn't want to wanted to sort of punish him for getting a different contract, is what sounded like happened.
Oh, all
So
right.
so I'll just say that there was a chance for things to return and they didn't. So it doesn't necessarily end on the most final note, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in this case. So
Interesting. I wrote it down.
yeah, no, I've
Sounds like it might be up my alley since it's not gory.
really enjoyed it. And then
Cool.
quickly, I think, just because we're running out of time, and I think we can both speak to this. Narcan, get
Yeah.
some.
Get some. Ross, help me out with this because I started reading an article on Slate that was entitled something like Every Parent of Every Teen Should Have This Drug. And it was
Yeah.
Narcan. And the article explained how Narcan cannot hurt anyone, but it can be used very easily and very safely to halt an opioid overdose.
Yeah, I guess it's an inhaler. It comes in single dose inhaler thing. So you're warned. The first thing you're warned is, like, don't try to test it out because there's one dose, and if you try to test it out, you have zero doses. But I guess it's a very safe sort of. It's sort of harmless.
Yeah, it can't
I
hurt
I
anyone, they said on Slate. Like it's
yeah,
non-toxic. There's no way to hurt anybody. You can't overdose on it.
and I couldn't find any counter to that. I mean, it seemed to be the case. Everything I read was like, no, it can't really hurt you. But if you are having, apparently it binds to opioid receptors and will sort of, and can reverse the effects of, so heroin, morphine, oxycodone, any of those things, it can basically reverse the effects of an overdose in its tracks, and save a life. The thing I saw was not just if you're the parent of a teenager, like anybody.
Well, that
There's no reason everybody shouldn't have, at least some access to Narcan, because
right,
it can save a life. When someone's having an overdose, medical resources, sometimes that's not their top priority.
right.
So sometimes you get people who could be saved who aren't, because it was not taken seriously, or not, you know, they didn't arrive as quickly as possible. I've also seen describe the symptoms, but don't tell 911 that someone's having an overdose,
Wow.
because that can,
That might not get prioritized because of the stigma against drug use and addiction here in this nation.
Right. So in New York, and I'll just throw this out real quick, I found a website called nextdistro.org, NEXTDISTRO. So like next distribution, I guess. And they help find things like Narcan that are sort of like harm reduction things involving
Yes.
drugs. So if you go there and go to the New York State page, it'll give you information on how to get Narcan. It'll show you the pharmacies where you can get it without a prescription. It'll show you, various ways that you can get it. It also mentions, I guess there's a Good Samaritan law in New York, so you can't be sued for, like, if you give someone Narcan because it seems like they're having an overdose, you can't be sued or anything for that.
That's
Although again,
great.
it seems like Narcan doesn't
It's not going to do
can't
anything. It's
it's
not
not going
like
to
you
do
gave
anything.
them a shot of something that like
Right.
adrenaline or something.
And I guess from this website, it sounds like they also have access information on if you're in certain circumstances, they'll just send you some. If you either can't get to any or you're in a particular risk group or your family is, they have ways you can just get sent some. So I'm going to look into this just
Yeah,
to
me
have something.
too.
I don't know how long it keeps. I didn't look that up, but
Right. But it
I
sounds like
think,
if you want to be a responsible citizen, it's a great way to be one.
yeah, and especially, like I live in the suburbs, so I never see anybody. If you're in a more densely populated area where you're,
I mean, I've got
I'm
windows. If I saw somebody in distress outside my home, I think I'd run out and
well, that's it. And I don't mean to turn this into like a suburb versus city issue, but
no, it's just my
I'm in
neighbors are really, really close, and yours are way
right,
more spread out by yards and stuff.
right, and people don't really walk outside much. So if someone were having an overdose, it would probably
Yeah.
be in their house where I'd never see them.
Right, and there's
But
people
if you,
who, we walk around here because
Mhm.
it's the city and it's nice and there's sidewalks and streetlights and things. I don't think you have those out there.
Right, if I still worked downtown, I think I would knowing what I know now, I would probably try to like have some of this in my pocket just because
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone die, but I've seen overdoses, where maybe I could have helped if I had known better. I don't know. So, or I've seen things that seemed like
Interesting.
overdoses,
Yeah, I
and
was
maybe this
thinking
would have helped.
I'm
I don't
not
know.
sure that I have seen that, but it's got to be
I've
scary.
I've seen things that might have been, and maybe this would have helped. Maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe it wouldn't hurt. I don't know. So, but maybe I'm the only one with. Maybe in that case I'm the only one that has the Narcan that could help somebody. So,
Well, it's good to have and it's good to know because I've heard about Narcan for a long time,
mhm.
but I didn't know a lot. And it's funny that we both saw articles today. Knowing that it's just a little inhaler type thing makes it a lot
Yeah.
less scary to me because that was one question I had. Like, is it a shot? What do you do? How do you give it to someone?
Right. It doesn't go right into somebody's heart. And the other thing that was sort of mentioned too in the NPR piece that I was reading is the people think of drug overdoses as like a habitual drug user, and not that that's a reason to be less concerned. But with like fentanyl and some of the
Yeah,
opioids that are around,
could
there,
happen to anyone.
it could happen because you took one pill. It's not. And again, in no way is that to suggest that someone with a drug addiction problem is any less worthy of being saved than someone else. But it might not look what you think it's going to look like. So you should be aware that a lot more people are in this situation than you think.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Space Cadets, December 15th, we're going to be at Photo City Music Hall, doors 7. Show starts at 8. It's a benefit for WAYO and Rock Food Relief. We're going to be there. It's great. SOT 500, dancing, partying. It's going to be an awesome
Yes, ma'am.
time.
Bye bye. It's my new sign off. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh wait, I lost my thing. Hold on, I lost my thing again.
You and your thing.
I know. Completely gone. So I'm just going to pull it up fresh from scratch because I don't know what I did with it. Like walks into a bar. Now I got to get to the end. Okay. Hey, Heather. A gorilla walks into a bar and says, "A scotch on the rocks, please." The gorilla hands the bartender a $10 bill. The bartender thinks to himself, "This gorilla doesn't know the prices of drinks," and gives him 15 cents change. The bartender says, "We don't get too many gorillas in here." The gorilla replies, "Well, at $9.85 a drink, I ain't coming back either."
Oh, Ross. The financial exploitation of gorillas in the U.S. is a well known and heartbreaking matter.
Oh,
How
Lord.
dare that bartender? How dare they?
Here
trying
we
to
go.
pull a fast one on a hardworking gorilla with a taste for top shelf liquor. They should be ashamed. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I agree.